Hi everyone, my name is Amanda. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I'm a girly who loves God. I just graduated from college last year. I can't even say I just graduated college. I graduated college class of 2022. I'm like out of breath because I just ran up from doing laundry. But if you're reading the title of this video, Faith in Grad School, I was inspired to do this based off of Adrienne Bailon Houghton's Faith in Familia series, where she's talking about her IVF journey. And I just thought it would be really cool to share my journey, especially if I'm going to be sharing my journey of grad school along with other aspects of my life on this channel. I thought it'd be really cool to share this aspect because my grad school journey is not just about grad school itself, but I have to give all praise to God and show you how he works. If you are somebody who is lacking in faith, if you are not trusting God, maybe you're in a waiting season and you just can't understand, why is it that I have to wait, God? I'm here to tell you that God has a purpose in all of his waiting. And I have truly seen him work in my life. I had to take off my glasses, y'all, because I'm right in front of the window and there's just a glare. It's just not looking good. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Maybe you are a girly trying to deepen your faith. Maybe you are somebody who is applying to grad school and you're also a Christian. Maybe you're just applying to grad school and you want to hear my journey. Welcome. My journey is not finished. If you watched my last video, you'll know I am applying to grad school this fall for my second time around. But I just want to show you and explain how God has been so good to me. Grab a bowl of popcorn because this is about to be multiple videos because this is just gonna be too long. So my journey starts with grad school. I started to apply to grad school in 2022. Fall of 2022, so that I could start fall of 2023. Now, I just want to say up to this point, I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist household, Christian household, and I don't think that I ever exercised faith with realization until this point in my life. I remember in high school, my senior year, when I was doing my SATs, I prayed about that. I was like, God, please, Lord, I want to get a good score on my SAT. And it wasn't the best score, y'all. I got a 1280. Maybe that's nothing, whatever. But it was my faith, putting in the works based on my faith that got me that score. And to make it even perfect and to even, emphasize to me that was God, I got the same score on both sections, the reading and the math. And so, but it was really through praying and studying for the SAT that I was able to up my score. But I say all that to say, that was maybe my first time experiencing or exercising my faith, but just I didn't get to where I am today in my spiritual journey with God and my spiritual walk with God and relationship with him until I had this experience and this journey that I've had now, which is my grad school journey. So the summer before my senior year, I participated in a research intensive summer program. It was a 10-week program and it was at one of the top R1 schools. And I was able to work in an amazing, incredible lab. And even that story, oh my goodness, actually I'm lying. That was not the time. The high school is not the first and last time I've exercised faith. Even getting into this program was God himself, okay? And if you want to hear that, I can share that. Just write a comment that you want to hear it and I will let you know. I will create a whole story time of how God worked in that regard. But he got me into this amazing program. I had the time of my life. God knew at that point, my junior year, I was really battling with depression. I was struggling. I was overwhelmed in class with classwork. And I just felt I literally explained to many people, I was underwater. Okay. And I felt I was suffocating and I could not get up. So finally, when the year ended and I got to this program, like, God just knew I needed it. And he knew that not only was it going to meet it was like an Elijah moment. He knew that it was not only going to meet and elevate my career in regards to psychology, but he also knew that it was going to heal me in a way that I needed to be better healed so that I can proceed with the last year of college and all those things. So I got to this program, did amazing in the program, learned so much, and then I got to senior year. So in this program, I started doing work that I continued in my senior year. So I continued what I was working on in the summer into my senior thesis, and I kind of like expanded it. Honestly, this is not important to the story. But it is in the fact that like my senior project, my senior thesis for college was happening alongside me applying to grad school. And if I was applying for fellowships, that would have also been another thing. And so it goes to emphasize it was a stressful time in my life. So I knew it was going to be stressful. So that's why I made sure to research schools. I made my grad school spreadsheet that summer. I started looking for people. I started reaching out to people. That's what you should do. If you are applying to grad school, reach out to your professors or the PIs that you're interested in, just to make sure that they're taking students, because you don't want to waste time applying and wasting money if you have to pay for that application and they're not doing that. Or if you don't have enough people that you're interested in at a school, is it really worth it to apply? No. Make sure to do that work summer before, so that when senior year came, I knew that I was supposed to start the apps on September, even if it just meant like starting my personal statement, maybe like creating a document and just labeling it personal statement. I knew I had to do that because I wanted to make sure I wasn't stressed. I was working on my personal statement. I was meeting with one of my favorite professors, Dr. Jane Smith, at Bard, because I went to Bard, guys. And she was just so phenomenal. I worked with professors. I've met with my mentor from the summer. Like all these people, I had them looking at my draft, but I did not do a good job of like really following up with them and like just having them constantly look at my drafts like I did, but like at the same time I did, because I didn't know what I didn't know. Okay. And that's something to it. Like if you don't know what you don't know, the grad school application process can go anyway, right? But I want you to know something. When God has something for you, who can be against you? All right. When God has something in his plans for you, nothing can stop it from happening. He knows the perfect and opportune time for you to receive it. Okay. And so I'm not saying that like my personal statement was the thing that kept me back. Maybe these are little factors, but truly, I don't think it was the time for me to get into grad school. If you watched my last video, I got rejected from all my schools. But anyway, so I waited till the last week, literally like the night before my applications were due, to really like make final edits to my personal statement, which you should not do. Okay. Make sure you're ahead of yourself, ahead of the game, and really put in the effort so that you have something that's quality by the time you finish. Anyway, I put in my applications. I applied to 5 schools, and maybe later once I like get into grad school, I can tell you the schools that I applied to in both rounds. But if you're applying to grad school, or if you don't know, usually you hear back at the end of December, early January, and you usually hear about like informal interviews, which are like 30-minute Zoom calls, 30-minute phone calls, things of that nature, so that these advisors or these PIs can have a feel of who you are, and they know they can shortlist you and be like, these are the people that I want to invite to interview day. So I heard back from 2 people from the same school, which was my top school. And I had my interviews for both people. They were amazing, incredible. And I heard back from the first person. Like I said, I got rejected from all schools. Before I say this, right? The Saturday, I'm a Sabbath keeper, 7-day Adventist girl. The Sabbath before my first rejection came January 17th, 2023. So January 15th, I went to church, and Pastor Gerald Christoph, but you played a big part in my faith journey. But he preached on 1 Samuel 30, and he was looking at David. And if you're not familiar with this chapter, this is basically when David and his men, they go out to war or something. And when they come back, their wives, their children, all their things, belongings are gone. Somebody came, raided, and took their people, took all their things, and they're weeping. They are devastated. Everyone is crying, and they're like, oh my goodness. And they're ready to kill David, ready to kill our son David. Y'all already know, a man after God's own heart. Them ready to kill him off, right? David, he's crying, right? But then the Bible tells us that David encourages himself in the Lord. And he goes to, I think it was Abiathar or Eleazar, one of them, right? And he says, go get the ephod or the ephod. And he prays to God. And God says, he doesn't say you're going to recover some of it, some of your spoil. He said you're going to recover all of it, every single thing. And what do? They recover everything. And for me, it was just like, sometimes we experience these upsets, right? We don't know what God has in store for us. So just wait. So it was my first moment of encouragement. So then on this Monday, when I got this rejection, I remember I was devastated. But my mind quickly went back to this sermon, and I think this sermon helped me not to cry immediately. But I remember I went downstairs because I was visiting home, and I remember literally in my head, out of nowhere. At this point, I love Maverick City, but I never listened to Wait on the Lord like that, okay? The only reason I knew this song was because I went to the Maverick City concert. And Wait on the Lord, or Wait on You, started playing in my head. I'm gonna wait on you. I've tasted your goodness. I trust in your promise. I'm gonna wait on you. And I believe that's Isaiah 40 verse 31. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles and soar. They should run and not get weary. Or they should run and not faint. They should walk and not get weary. Something like that. I might be mixing up the end. And that song and that scripture, little did I know, was going to become the anthem for my journey, or the beginning of my journey, of my faith journey, my grad school journey. And I remember before that word came into my head, before the night before, I was scrolling through YouTube, and I followed Dappy Key, he does instrumentals, but one of his instrumentals from the night before was Wait on the Lord. And I'm like, wait on the Lord. So this is the second time I'm seeing Wait on the Lord, right? And I remember when I got back to school, the next day, my friend, she got accepted into grad school. And I remember, or wait, maybe I'm lying. Or maybe a week later, go back to school. School starts back, spring semester. And I remember 10 days of prayer was taking place at my church. Basically, you're praying 30 to 45 minutes a day about different things. So of course I was praying about grad school. And I should say that my fall semester of senior year, my friend and I, my good friend to this day, AP and I, we were doing 5 a.m. prayers, 5 a.m. prayer walks, and we were always constantly praying about grad school and getting into grad school. This 10 days of prayer, they come, and I'm praying. And on my list, I remember, I literally, let's use 5 random names, right? I said, God, I'm praying that my sister, no, she was my last one. So I said, I pray that Sarah gets in. I pray that June gets in. I pray that my good friend, AP, I'll say her name, AP gets in. Then I prayed for my sister, I prayed for my sister, then I prayed for AP, and then I prayed for myself. And my sister is applying for medical school at this time. So during this 10 days of prayer, my friend Sarah, this is the first person on the list, she gets into grad school. And I'm like, oh my goodness, congratulations. And I'm like, okay, she gets into grad school. It I'm so excited for her, but it also creates the thought oh my goodness, I haven't heard back from anybody besides the first 2 people. And I got rejected from that one person. And then I wasn't hearing back from the other person I interviewed for, but then turns out she wasn't able to take students. So I didn't stress about that, you know, like that made me happy, like that the interview went well. It's just that she's not taking students. And so my friend gets in, and I remember my friend AP, or me, my friend AP, and then my other friend, let's say June, we like are talking, and we, you know, both, all three of us are faith-filled, and we're talking, we're like, dang, like we haven't heard back from these schools, and we're like a little nervous, and all these different things. And was that that was a Monday. And I was just like, you know what, but we're trusting in God. We're gonna keep trusting in God, because God has not failed us, and he never fails the right. I've never, as David said, as long as he lived, he had never seen the righteous forsaken, okay? So we're not about to be forsaken by our God, okay? Okay. Tuesday comes, right? And my friend, let's say June, this is the third person, not AP. So me, AP, and June, we were there together Monday. Tuesday comes, and me and June are RAs, right? And we have a meeting, and she comes to the meeting, and at the end of it, she goes, Mandy, girl, I gotta tell you something. I got it. And I literally like start to tear up, because I'm like, God is so good. He's so merciful, right? And I remember after this experience, I too, once again, started to feel like happy for her, but also it's like, dang, I haven't heard back from any other schools, right? And I remember I'm telling my friend this, right? I'm telling her, I'm like, girl, my best friend, Kamoy, you'll see her at some point on my videos. I'm like, girl, like, I'm so sad. Like, I'm happy, but I'm also sad, because like, I'm not hearing back from places. And I'm like, girl, you know, I've been praying, and the way I've been saying the prayers, it just seems to like be that, like, that's how God's answering the prayer. Like, it's so, and she was like, well, you know, God does have a sense of humor, right? And as she says that, I was like, click. I was like, oh my goodness, God, if you have a sense of humor, I'm calling my sister, right? This is the Tuesday. I call my sister. I think on Tuesday, I also spoke to like two like individuals that I look up to women who are like God-fearing. And I was talking to them about it. And one of them, she's like, oh, I'm gonna send you a sermon. And it was like, wait on the Lord, because the West Jamaica Conference was doing their Footprints of Hope series, and the preacher was preaching on waiting on the Lord. This was a Wednesday. I'm telling them, and I also told my these two women like about just like everything that's been happening in my life, right? So I watched this sermon, and I was like, okay, this is really confirmation. I was like, I call my sister, right? And I go, Melissa, I don't know, this might be crazy, but I was talking to Kamoy, and she was like, God has a sense of humor. I've been praying this prayer, and I've been praying it in this order. And the two people got in. So you're next up on the list. So I think you're next. You're next, Melissa. You're next. Like, God has been answering. Like, I believe it. You're next, right? The next day, my sister calls me Thursday, and she goes, Mandy, I got into med school. And I start crying, because I'm like, yo, I serve a merciful God, but I see you're working. And I remember at the time I was also reading Unrealistic Faith by Pastor W. Snell. My friend had gotten me a copy when she had gone to youth congress. He was there, he preached. And she bought the book, and he signed it. So I was reading this book, and I remember in the book, he says, you know, when you have faith, you know, when God is blessing the people in your circle, don't like start to be like, you know, oh my goodness, he's not going to do it for me. You should remember that God is in the neighborhood, and he's coming to you soon. So when I heard that really like just gave me even more motivation to know that my sister was getting in. And then when she got in, I was like, okay, God is really out here working. And Lord, I've seen what you've done for others, and I know you will do it for me, because you're answering my prayers. So next up on the list was AP. guys, I forgot to say, AP does get into grad school. She gets an acceptance from one of her top schools, and it was great. But AP and we have not heard back from anybody. And it's getting to a point where it's April. And I remember my AP calls me. We both applied to the same school, and she's like, Mandy, like something happened with the school. Like I hadn't heard back from them, so I called, and basically I didn't get accepted. You should call and see. I tried calling my department, but their phone just so happened to be out of service. And I was like, at that very moment, I realized, like, I remember I broke down crying, and I said, Lord, like, if it's not grad school that you have for me, please show me what it is. Like, Lord, take away this desire from my heart. Take it away. If that is not what it's going to be, let me know, God, let me know. So I remember I reached out to my mentor, and from the summer, from the school I was working at, and she's like, okay, Mandy, we need to meet. Because what I'm hearing is that you're giving up, and we're not about to have that. So I remember I was like, Lord, if I go into this, and I remember there was a time where I was like reaching out to many people for advice. I was like, Lord, what do I do? And I was like, when I meet with this lady, I do not want her, Lord, like, please speak through her. If grad school is not for me, let me know. Let me know what it is that you would have me do. Because I am tired of feeling like I don't know what I'm gonna do. And my biggest fear was graduating from college, not having anything and not knowing what to do. I met with my mentor, and she was like, girl, this happens to everybody. I believe in divine intervention. I've met you. I believe that you are supposed to be in grad school, okay? And sometimes things just don't work out in the way that we thought they would. But that doesn't mean that you give up. Rejection is just redirection. Denial is closing a door for that so that another one can be opened. And I remember, oh my goodness, in saying that, a family friend, she sent me this thing on Instagram because I was telling her about my journey too. And I remember I didn't open her thing that night because I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. I don't wanna like talk. And I opened it the next morning. And I remember when I sent my aunt my rejection letter from the first lab, or the first person I had interviewed with, I remember she said, yeah, so I'm like saying this out of context. So this happened, like what I'm about to say happened when I got the rejection. But when I sent my aunt the email of the rejection, she was like, you know what? Sometimes God closes one door to open many others, or something like that, right? Like, but when God speaks to me, he always speaks to me in twos. He always speaks to me in parallels, and that's how I always get my confirmation. So he did that with Wait on the Lord. And so my aunt tells me this one thing. And so, like I said, my family friend who I was telling what was taking place about, she sent me this thing on Instagram, this Instagram reel, but I did not look at it until the next morning. And when I opened it the next morning, exactly what my aunt had said, the reel said. She was applying to college, to the school that she wanted to. I think she got it rejected from all the schools, right? From a lot of schools, but then she got into this one school, which was her top school. And she was like, sometimes God closes one door to open many others, or open another. And I was like, okay, Lord, I hear you speaking. I hear you speaking. So, but you know, this is April, but let's go back to April. So I'm at April, and I'm like, and you know, talking with my mentor, and I'm like, okay. And so she's like, here's what we're gonna do. I love somebody who gives me next steps, because sometimes I don't know what my next steps are. She says, okay, you're gonna meet with Susan, let's say Susan, which is her grad student that I worked with over the summer. She's like, you're gonna meet with her, contact her, and so she can help you look for jobs. She used to do it, like lab manager, research positions. She can help you. So I was like, okay, perfect. So we met, and she did such an amazing job just like detailing what exactly I had to do. And basically, long story short, if I can do a video on this, if you really want me to, let me know in the comments. But she goes, basically, you want to go Google, and you want to Google any institution that you are fond of that does research, and then attach careers, go through their academic careers and look for research positions, lab manager positions. Like, that's the easy way, long story short. But you know, the thing about me, I'm a person who, when I start looking at things, I'm like, okay, like, let me look for the apartment. Like, I picture myself here and all these different things. And long story short, I got to the end of senior year. I got to graduation and I had no job. I'm sorry if the angle changed, it's because I had to go get my laundry and my phone is dying. Okay, so yeah, so end of senior year comes. I'm going to not going to grad school. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, where am I gonna go, Lord? I don't have a job, I have not heard back. So my friend AP, who like I was praying for as well, and I've been talking about, sorry, I'm blanking. She goes, Mandy, what if it's that God, because I had booked a 3-week vacation in Barbados, which is not really vacation because I went to go see my dad, and my stepmom and my family. But she's like, what if God is granting you this 3 weeks just to get a break? And then he's going to grant you a job at the end. I just want to tell you, so said, so done. So I remember when I applied to so many jobs at this point, and when I was in Barbados, I was like, Missa, wait, I'm not gonna get no job. Like, and I remember before I left, my grandmother was like, so Mandy, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, you never getting a job. Like, hello. I'm just look on her like, grandma, like, I would love to have a job, like, but I haven't heard back from anywhere. And she's like, so what are you gonna do? Like, you know, and all these questions were kind of like freaking me out. I go to Barbados, and I remember like one night, it was late. This is when my sister was still there, because she came for like 9 days of that trip. And I just pull out my laptop and I go on LinkedIn, and something's like, why don't you look on LinkedIn for some jobs? And as I'm on LinkedIn, I applied to a couple jobs. And it was from that batch that I heard from one person. And the one person is the same person who had hired me and where I work today. To me, it was so insane. Oh wait, did I talk about... So I forgot to talk about the sermon that I watched in March. So my friend and I, in February, we had done a Daniel fast for 2 weeks. She ended up extending at the beginning of March. Pastor Deblier Snell, if you are familiar with Pastor Deblier Snell, he is the pastor of the Oakwood University Church, as well as Breath of Life. His videos, his sermons are online. So this particular sermon that I'm about to talk about, you can watch it. It is an incredible sermon titled Connect the Dots. And this was a part of his teaching series called The Pivot. And it was at this moment that I recognized, not to a full extent, but I recognized at some way that God was calling me to a pivot. And I thought that this pivot was solely in what I would be doing in my next steps immediately after college. But basically in Connect the Dots, Pastor Deblier Snell, he's speaking from Acts 16 verses 6 through 34, I believe. And this is the story, you might be familiar with it, when Paul and Silas, they are going around preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, and God restricts them from going to Asia. He restricts them from going to, what was it? Mia, something with the M, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. He restricts them from going to Bithynia. And he explains how, a lot of scholars think that, Bithynia was going to be fruitless. Maybe they were going to experience harm. They don't know, but God kept them from going to these places. And then Paul has this vision, has a dream, where this man is in Macedonia and says, come help us in Macedonia. And so he goes to they go to Macedonia, and on their way, they meet Lydia, who's selling purple, and they're able to minister and evangelize to her and her family. They get baptized. Then they meet the girl who is possessed with a demon, but every time she sees them, she recognizes that they are followers of Jesus Christ. And at some point, Paul gets annoyed and is like, yo, demon, flee out of my good sis. And, the people who were making money off of this girl and her, the demon, they, turn Paul and Silas in, they beat them, put them in jail. And this is when the earthquake happens, and the prison keeper thinks that all the prisoners have fled and he's about to kill himself, but he is about to do that. And as he's about to do that, Paul says, stop, we are all here. And he ministers to him, and he brings them to minister to his family, and they are baptized and they are saved in the name of Jesus, right? But he's basically talking about how sometimes God has to give us rejection. Sometimes he has to give us denials and all of these different things. Maybe he has to change it up. He has to cause us to pivot, because maybe what we want, what we desire in the specific track that we want it or nature that we want it is going to be fruitless. Maybe it's going to bring us harm. You don't know. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I'm hearing you. Maybe the programs I applied to were going to provide me harm. And knowing what I know now, they would have, because they wouldn't have met my research interests. They wouldn't have met my needs as a student, as somebody who is eager to learn about a specific topic. In the end, he does this depiction of connected the dots, basically, and it's of a bird. And he's like, it's only when I finish connecting the dots that you're able to see the bigger picture. And he's like, when you finally get to that place that God is bringing you to, you can then reflect and you can look back at all these dots. So I'm like looking back at all these dots that he's done in my life as I'm like telling you guys and sharing the story with you guys. And I'm basically seeing him connect the dots, and I see him do this all throughout my senior year. And eventually when I get my job for my lab manager position. I will stop here for the first part. This is going to be a series that goes on until I finish grad school, or until I get into grad school. But yeah, so I'll stop right here, and I'm going to continue the second part. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please continue to watch this series. And if you are ready to lose hope, just know that God has something in store for you. Maybe it's not necessarily what you thought, but when our desires are aligned with his desires, God can grant us the desires of our heart. But Matthew 6 verse 33. But seek ye first, reading from the King James Version, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And so I'll leave y'all with that gem. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I can't wait to just continue to continue bringing you on my journey. And I hope that you are able to see God working in my life, and that you are able to deepen your relationship, be inspired to deepen your relationship with God, and see him work in your life, because Jesus is coming again, right? And you need to get your life right and be prepared, clothed in righteousness, so that when he comes, we can be called servants of God and be called unto him. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'm excited to see you in the next one.